If you have big goals for 2018, then you need to learn how to be productive and how to get shit done. 10 of the best tips to make 2018 your most productive year ever is what I want to share with you today. And let me tell you, a couple of those you probably never have heard anywhere before. So let's get right into it. Hey, this is Alex. I'm glad you're tuning in again. And today I want to talk about productivity. And tip number one is probably very counterintuitive. Tip number one is do less. Yeah, right. That's not what you expected, right? Don't have a huge to-do list. Don't have a lot to do. No, actually do less. Why? Well, did you ever have a day where your to-do list was just overflowing with tasks that you had to get done? You probably have, right? And you keep looking at it, but you kind of feel overwhelmed. You kind of don't get the energy to do something. You kind of don't get off your butt and work on it. See, our mind works like this. If he sees this huge to-do list, we often freeze. We get paralyzed because we think to ourselves, how the fuck am I supposed to get all of this done? How? And with this, we actually get nothing done. Take the opposite approach. Only focus on one thing. Only have one thing on your to-do list. And the one question you should ask yourself to find this one thing is, well, what is the one thing that when I get it done will make everything else easier or even unnecessary? Like this, you create a win-win situation for yourself. You do the one thing and you're done. You made huge progress for the day. Or you do the one thing and you made huge progress, but you now feel even more motivated because you got something done, you build up a little bit of momentum, and suddenly you do the second thing and the third and the fourth and the fifth, and you may even get through your whole 10 or 20 item to-do list, but it all started with one simple thing. So do less. Tip number two I want to share with you is establish routines. Even if we don't like to admit it, we humans, we are creatures of habit. Around 90% of what we do on a daily basis, what we say, what we think, what we feel is just on autopilot. It's a habit. So might as well use this, right? Create certain habits, certain routines that you do daily, which help you become more productive. A couple examples would be to meditate every day, to work out every day, to read every day, to focus on the most important task at hand every day. And by doing this 30 days in a row, it actually becomes a habit and you don't have to think about it anymore. You just wake up or you sit down on your desk and boom, there you go. You just do it without thinking about it, which is great, right? Number three, avoid the busy trap by all means. I don't know why, but in today's world, it kind of became a status symbol to be busy. Oh man, sorry, I can't meet. I'm way too busy. Sorry, I'm all up in work today. Sorry. What is there to brag about? I mean, busy just means that you've lost control over your time, your energy, and your life. Therefore, don't do this. Look at the tasks that are actually important and look at the things that, well, maybe get you ahead but are not that important and that you maybe even can delegate or outsource to somebody else, or, well, don't have to do it, that you don't have to do them at all. Don't be busy. It's not fun to be busy. Be productive, be effective. Tip number four is probably very counterintuitive as well. Take more breaks. Relax. Rest more. Why am I telling you this? Probably if you watch your video like this, you already are somebody who reads a lot, works on himself, tries to achieve bigger goals and gets a lot of stuff done, right? So at some point it doesn't do you any good to work more and more and more and push and push and push. Actually, quite the opposite helps. Take a break with some friends, go to dinner with your spouse, watch your favorite movie, your favorite TV series, play a computer game, watch a movie in the cinema, do something to really completely shut off. This actually makes you more productive because think about that you just finished a 12-hour workday. Do you really think grinding even more during the day will do you any good? Probably not. You hit a point of diminishing returns long ago. Instead of grinding even more, sit back, relax, recharge and go back to work the next day or maybe just an hour or 2 hours later with more energy and renewed focus. Quick addition to that, actually schedule your breaks and your recovery periods into your calendar because if you don't schedule it, it doesn't exist. And while we're talking about scheduling, let's look at your calendar. Tip number 5, have a full calendar. Why that? Well, did you ever hear the quote, if you want to get something done, give it to the busiest person? Yeah, exactly. If you want to get something done, have things scheduled in your calendar. Did you ever have a day off or a day where there's not much in your calendar and you actually only had 2 or 3 little things to do? You literally have the whole day to get these 2 or 3 little things done, but somehow you manage to not do anything? See, the problem for most of us is just to start. But if you schedule a certain thing in your calendar, at this point you suddenly start and you get a little momentum going. You go to the next thing and you get more momentum going. You get to the next thing and more momentum. And if something new appears in your calendar, you're just like, all right, sure, I'm gonna get this done as well. Therefore, have a full calendar, which doesn't mean you should put stupid things that just make you busy but not productive in your calendar. Of course, think about it, but then use every minute of your day wisely. I already introduced tip number 6 a little bit by talking about momentum, and this is tip number 6. Develop as much momentum as possible. The longer and the more often you do something, the more momentum you will get. This process will suddenly develop a life on its own. Some people would also call it going on a run. Oh, he's really on a good run. He's fully into it. He's fully into his zone. And you've probably experienced this a couple times in your life as well, that you start working on a project and the more days in a row you do it, the easier it becomes, right? So why not use this consciously? Start working on something every day, not with the focus of a certain outcome, but just with the focus of gaining momentum. The more momentum there is, the harder it is to stop and the easier it is to keep going. As a simple reminder, think about a small snowball. When you start rolling it, when it starts rolling down the hill, it starts very, very small, but the longer it rolls down the hill, the more snow accumulates and the bigger the snowball gets. This is exactly how momentum works. And let's talk about tip number 7, your speed of implementation. This is nothing more than the distance between when you decide to do something, or when you learn about something, or when you have an idea, and the point where you finally start to implement it. The shorter this distance, obviously, the better. If you learn about something or want to start doing something today, but you start implementing it in a week, it's not as good as when you start learning about something today and start implementing right away. Because you see, the time between having an idea or learning something and implementing, the more time there is, the more passive you become and the less likely you will start to actually implement it. So let's not wait a day, a week, a month or even longer to start doing something. Start doing it right now. The quicker your speed of implementation, the quicker you get to know what works for you and what not, and the quicker you can build up your own momentum. Tip number 8, learn to say no. Every little thing that you say yes to has the ability to distract you from your goal and from your priorities. Imagine it like this. You are sitting on your desk or in your office and you're working on something, and suddenly a coworker, a friend or a colleague comes into the room with this big screaming monkey on his shoulders. And he asks you, hey man, would you mind taking care of this monkey real quick? You of course say, yeah sure man, hand it over. So he takes this monkey from his shoulders and puts it right there on your desk. And now it's your problem. Think about this. Every time you want to say yes to something, is this something I would really enjoy? Is this something that would bring me closer to one of my goals? Or is this just this screaming, annoying monkey that, well, somebody has to take care of, but actually it's not my priority? If it's the former and it brings you closer to your goal, sure, say yes. But if it's the latter and it's just this annoying monkey and it will distract you, learn to say no and be unapologetic about it. Tip number 9, don't think short-term, think long-term. The biggest amount of our stress actually comes from only thinking about the now or the near future and not thinking about how this will actually affect my bigger vision, my bigger plans, my bigger goals for the next 5 or 10 years. By just realizing that the project you're working on right now may be important, but after all, in 5 or 10 years, it won't matter. Or by realizing that you don't have to achieve all your goals by tomorrow or a year, but it's actually alright to set the foundation now and then to achieve the goal in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years or 5 years. This will take away a huge amount of stress by just being so impatient and stressed all the time. When you start thinking long term, you realize, well, there's actually a lot of time where I can accomplish a lot of things. And guess what happens next? Exactly, you have less stress, which puts you in a better mood, which makes you more creative, which makes you more focused, which makes you more productive, which makes you look forward to your work more. Therefore, don't just think short term, think and plan long term. It takes away a lot of the stress. Which then brings us to tip number 10 and our last tip for today: grow up. At some point, you just have to start taking 100% responsibility for your productivity, for your results, and for your life. Let's face it, nobody will handle your life for you, achieve your goals for you, or become productive for you. It's all in your hands. How productive you are and how efficient you work, well, that's your responsibility. Not the responsibility of your parents, not the responsibility of your employer, not the responsibility of your customer, and not the responsibility of the government. If you don't work on becoming more productive and more efficient, well, then nobody else will do it for you. Therefore, grow up and take 100% responsibility for your actions and for your life. So now get your speed of implementation up and start implementing at least one thing you learned in this video right now. And besides that, leave a comment down below with your questions or the topic requests that you want me to cover in the next video. I read all of them and I answer to all of them. And if you post a great question, well, then I will make a video about it. That's it for today. Hit the subscribe button, tune in tomorrow again for another video. With this said, goodbye.